This is an election night update from WCIA 3 News, your local election headquarters.
I'm Jen Lask. It is 7:08. The polls have closed 8 minutes ago. However, if you are watching this on one of our social media platforms or you are streaming it on our free news app, a reminder that if you are in line right now to vote, stay in line. Now, a big question, of course, with the election and with the polls closing is what comes next. So I am bringing in our reporter, Lindsay Jones. Lindsay, what can we expect now that the polls have closed?
Thanks, Jen. County clerks across the state can begin to update their respective websites with whatever information they have now that the polls have closed. And that includes releasing absentee voting totals. Still, we should expect some of them to be cautious. And another thing to note that's specific to Illinois is that our 108 election authorities have 14 calendar days to count vote-by-mail ballots. Those have to be votes ranked by today, November 3rd. And just a few minutes ago, the State Board of Elections said they've been hearing reports from those election authorities across the state saying many voters were turning in their mail-in ballots that they'd requested in exchange for the ability to vote in person. That means the State Board of Elections' best estimate now is that between 300 to 400,000 mail-in ballots could arrive between now and November 17th. Those ballots could affect election outcomes. The State Board of Elections is cautioning people to be cautious, saying that we need to keep that in mind. And again, legally, Illinois does give its election officials 14 calendar days to count those ballots.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much. We're going to be checking back in with you again in just a couple of minutes to talk about the graduated income tax debate. But first, over in Macon County, we have been covering what is a record turnout, and we have been checking in throughout the night. If you've been watching us at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock as well, with Jennifer Jensen, one of our reporters who's been out there. And I just want to make sure, are we good to go? Awesome. This is all a fluid situation, but we want to head out to Jennifer Jensen to see what it has been like in Macon County for voters there.
The clerk told me all polling places on Election Day have had a steady flow of voters. Here in Macon County, there was a record set for voting. There was more than 17,000 early voters alone, a record turnout. In 2018, there was a total of early and vote-by-mail ballots of about 6,663. The county clerk says something surprised him today, though. There has been a high rate of same-day registration for those who voted in person today.
Well, it's always important to vote because people sacrifice their life for this country to vote, and it doesn't matter if you vote for the candidates or not. You just want okay, in the past in America, people literally sacrificed their rights and their lives to vote. So you should respect the past and the future.
The clerk says they did run into a common issue with dozens of people today at the polling places. Voters who requested a vote-by-mail ballot and instead chose to vote in person today have to bring that mail-in ballot to the polling place to surrender it. Some have been showing up without it. So the only option is to fill out a provisional ballot. But other than that, things have been running smoothly here on Election Day. Now, coming up later tonight, I will share the results of the big vote for the Macon County State's Attorney here. Live in Decatur, I'm Jennifer Jensen, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. And now we are going to be looking at a statewide issue. We have been following the proposed Illinois constitutional amendment, which would change the state's flat income tax to a graduated income tax. And, you know, you've been hearing throughout this entire day, throughout the weeks leading up to this election, that we might not know the full results of what's going on for each of the different issues on your ballot because of all of these mail-in ballots. However, there's a different reason that we might not know the results for this graduated income tax tonight. And we're going to bring Lindsay Jones back in to talk a little bit about this. So, Lindsay, when are we going to know for sure what's going on with that?
This yes-no vote that could result in those final numbers being available later on this week. So Illinoisans have cast ballots about whether or not they supported a progressive income tax, which has been dubbed the fair tax by its supporters. And that would change language in the state constitution that mandates a flat rate tax on personal income for everybody, regardless of income level. The premise is that wealthier people would be taxed more than less wealthy people.
Can we try that?
But because it's a referendum vote, the amendment could be ratified in one of two ways. So one is if it garners at least 60% of yes votes on the question, and the other is that if that 60% figure isn't reached, the amendment could win approval with a majority support of those voting in the election. And the record number of vote-by-mail ballots requested means it could be days before those two options have been officially tabulated by election officials. So we could see that tomorrow, we could see that Thursday, we could see it as late as Friday. Back to you, Jen.
Homeowners and make our system more fair for
So thank you so much, Lindsay. And we also have been covering the 13th congressional race. We had spoken with Mark Maxwell earlier this evening, our political bureau chief. He had an interview with Rodney Davis at the time, the first one that Rodney had given today. And we want to check back in with Mark on what's been going on there. He has been at an unusual kind of watch party, if you will, although it's just getting started now. But with this pandemic, things definitely look a bit different. So let's see what's going on in Taylorville.
This is hardly your ordinary election watch night party. The campaign for Rodney Davis has gone underground, if you will, to their proverbial bunker at the Knights of Columbus Hall here in his hometown of Taylorville. His challenger, Democrat Betsy Dirksen-Lonergan, watching with just a few family members remotely. We hope to hear from her later in the night, joining us virtually online. That's what a campaign feels like in this year of the coronavirus and the pandemic, the economy weighing so heavily on many voters' minds. Those were some of the issues the congressman addressed when he spoke to reporters here at this hall moments before the polls would start to close in Illinois. Both campaigns expressing confidence down the stretch. But all of those messages, all of that manpower, and all the money that flooded into this race, we're going to find out how voters decided perhaps in a matter of hours here. There was a lot of early mail-in balloting, a lot of early voting in person, and we're just starting to see those results. But again, the big issue here, the big issue of divide is really on health care. We're going to get a better our finger on the pulse of the voters in the Illinois 13th Congressional District. And how might that shift the balance of power in Congress as America decides on the future of our political direction? That's one interesting note there, as well as House Republicans are watching closely to see if they can make gains or eat into that Democratic majority on Capitol Hill. Congressman Davis hopes he factors in there as well. Remember, this was a very close race last time, decided by just more than 2,000 votes. Both candidates watching these results come in, and we're in touch with both of them. We'll keep you updated throughout the night as we hear how those results factor in and which candidate might come out on top. Could we hear from one of them as early as tonight? Perhaps later. We're going to find out much more. Reporting in Taylorville, Mark Maxwell.
All right, thank you, Mark. And before we wrap up this digital live stream for the time being, you know, you keep hearing from all of us, this isn't ordinary. This is a different situation than what we have been used to with elections in the past. And Jessica KUNZ gives us a look behind the scenes at the ways that things are a little bit different at the station this year, but also a look at how things are still the same.
Hey everyone, Jessica KUNZ here. I've got my mask on because we're going to be moving around the station, showing you how it looks different on this election day than in years past. First, we're going to show you the newsroom over here. Fewer people in it than years past because we are trying to social distance. Of course, we also have reporters out in the field as well, so they are out reporting for us. We're going to move into the sales office right now. Normally, on election day, the sales team would be in here and they would be helping gather results, getting election results from county clerks, from local election authorities. But this year they are doing that all from home because of COVID-19 once again. So we are making sure that we are socially distanced on this election day. Looks different, but we're still getting you those same results.
All right, thank you, Jessica. And before we wrap up, I just want to remind all of you, if you have not checked out our website, WCIA.com, or our app, it is free to download, and we have election results coming in by the second on there. You have all the results, all the races, any of the ballot measures, and we will be bringing you the latest updates not only on those platforms, but also right here on WCIA 3 News. We have cut-ins coming in from our anchors in just a few minutes, so this is all something that, you know, we are kind of going through step by step here. We are jumping in and out of the studio. You saw how the newsroom looks from Jessica, but we are excited to continue bringing you the election results because we are your election headquarters. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back in a few minutes. And for now, I'm Jen Lask.
The election results continue here on WCIA 3 News, your local election headquarters.